dropped off and we got to find out where they belong, and all of those processes that are tied to the start of school. So I would give administrators an extra week to work through some of those things. It would also give teachers an extra week of summer for them to spend with their families, or for those that want to get in, they could come in, the buildings would be available for them to begin setting up their rooms. Now, we are planning a very succinct convocation that would be broadcast out so that people are on their campuses, and as soon as convocation's done, they can begin their work. I had a meeting with our boys and girls athletic leaders, as well as with our assistant superintendents over elementary and secondary, and we had elementary principals in the building, so we asked them to join in the conversation, since a lot of this is tied to elementary. I mean, they're brand new buildings and they're bigger than we've ever had in the district, so we involved them in the conversation yesterday, as well as people in teaching and learning and operations. So as we had the conversation, we really didn't see a downside to moving things back a week. There were upsides on the athletic side, such as an opportunity for additional tournaments for volleyball and tennis, and a little more time for football for preparation. There was the benefit of, again, as I mentioned, teachers being able to either enjoy another week of summer or to come in and begin setting things up. The exchange would be fall break. We would eliminate fall break. And at the end of the year in May, instead of ending on the 25th, we would end on the 26th. That would be an early release day, and then graduation would be that Saturday on the 27th. Fall break wouldn't be 3 days. Instead, we would look at a 3-day weekend instead. So we would have 1 day that would be available for fall break. So instead of a full weekend with 3 days, it would be a 3-day weekend. Robin did a good job working with Amy on counting days to make sure by UIL standards we had the number of days by and large that we needed for each 6 weeks for competition. So I appreciate the attention to detail they put on that. It leaves Thanksgiving with a full week. It leaves Christmas with a full 2 weeks. It leaves spring break with a full week. So we're really just talking about 1 day at the end of the year and 3 days for fall break, changing to 2. Teachers would start on the, students would start on the 16th, and teachers would start on the 8th. New teacher, I believe, is, it would begin on the 3rd. So when you take a look at the calendar, there was the ability, after everybody put their eyes on it, for a good amount of give and take to make this work. If you don't mind, I'll ask Robin to walk through from August to May the adjustments, and you have before you the calendar that you have approved, and then the calendar that we would recommend.
Afternoon. So to ensure that we're all looking at the same documents in the same way, you have a copy that says version or V 1.1. That is the calendar that was adopted this spring. So that's the calendar currently in place. If you look at the copy that says V 1.1A, that is the recommendation that Dr. Sanchez just began speaking about. So to just kind of hit the high points, as Dr. Sanchez said, instead of starting new hires on July 27th, that will push back until August 3rd. Those are your pink boxes, that first week in August. Teaching staff, instead of starting August 1st, these are going to be your red boxes, they will start August 8th. Students will come on August 16th. So you can see basically all we did was move those 3 events 1 week back. They still occur on the same days in the week, it's just 1 week back in the calendar. From that moment moving forward, the changes that occurred were based on grading periods. There are certain requirements we must meet for athletic eligibility. So your yellow boxes are what show you where the grading period begins. When we moved back 1 week, that caused us to have to adjust all of those grading periods throughout the calendar. So the very first yellow box you're going to come across in September on the 28th, you'll notice that's literally 1 week back because that matches the August. From that moment on, the rest of the calendar, when you look at the yellow boxes, they occur within the same week, but it may be 1 or 2 days later. So like, for example, November 8th was the start of the third 6 weeks grading period. On the new recommended calendar, it would be November 10th. So within the same week, but we have to count out the number of days to ensure that our student athletes will have the eligibility time they need, according to UIL expectations. Dr. Sanchez mentioned in October on the 10th, we have added a holiday there. That will give teachers a 3-day weekend. We removed fall break, so you'll see the 19th, 20th, and 21st on the new calendar. Those are now school days. But we added the 10th to give the teachers a little bit of break because we know from the beginning of September until Thanksgiving can be a really long time. So we are hopeful that teachers will still feel like they've had a little break there in October. As you look across the calendar, you will see some boxes that are half orange and red. Those are PD work days. This was something that the teachers requested, I believe it was 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
We gave them a choice. How would you like professional development days to be handled in the district? And they said it would be great if we could do a half of the day is targeted on professional development and the other half of the day is teacher work time. So they can get with their colleagues or they can work in their classroom or, make parent contact, whatever needs to happen. So those orange-red boxes, those got moved based on if the grading period start date moved, because we try to keep those close to the end of 1 6 weeks, but maybe a week or in the same week of a new grading period, so they can go ahead and make plans for the upcoming 6 weeks. So you will notice a few of those have shifted in the calendar just a little bit, but the same number still remains and they still fall within that grading period. If you look at November, the 18th is still an early release day on both calendars like it has been. Like Dr. Sanchez mentioned, a full week for Thanksgiving. In December, we still have the early release day on the 16th, did not change, 2 full weeks for Christmas. When you look in January, teachers will still have that staff work day on Monday, January 2nd, which we know they appreciate having a chance to come back from Christmas and get organized, get prepared for kids. So that remained the same. On the 16th, this is where we moved one of our bad weather days. So I'll kind of give you a point of reference. On the original calendar, we had that bad weather day on March the 20th. We have moved that over to January 16th. I will tell you that is part of the athletic eligibility moment. If that day falls on a national holiday, we can count it as one of the days in that eligibility period. If it falls on a day that's just a generic day that the district said, hey, we're going to take this day off, you cannot count it. So we moved it from the 20th to the 16th for Martin Luther King Day is on the 16th. That's a national holiday. So that is the bad weather movement. I don't think we've talked about that one yet. February is pretty similar. There was just that couple movement day in the grading period. March, teachers still have a full break off for spring break. So we did remove the bad weather day on the 20th, but they already have 2 weekends and a full week, which is standard. That's typically what you see in school districts. And when you look in April, you'll notice the 7th is a holiday. That's Good Friday. That remained the same, but we did make one change with that PD staff day. We moved it from the 14th to the 10th, and I'll explain why we felt like that was needed. When the original calendar was accepted, we had a set of state testing dates from TEA that we were using. They've made some updates. And so we went in and we updated those state testing days on here. The week of April 17th is the week of 3 through 8 reading, English 1 and English 2 EOCs. We were very concerned about students having 2 3-day weekends right before they come back to school and have state testing that week. We thought it would be beneficial if we would move that planning day to Monday so that teachers can come back from Easter. Students will actually have a 4-day weekend that weekend. They'll have Easter Monday off, which a lot of colleges are now doing. So there may be, parents may actually be home on that day depending. Teachers will come up that day and they can make their intervention plans that day. The week of April 24th to the 28th, that is your 8th grade science, 8th grade social studies, U.S. history, and biology EOCs. The first week in May is 3 through 8 math, STAR, and Algebra 1 EOC. So really, that day on the 10th will be incredibly beneficial for all of our STAR tested teachers. It'll give them a chance to get their intervention plans in place, kind of retool their kit for instructional delivery and help students get in good settings with the help that we can provide. If you look at May, the only change there in May is that we did remove the bad weather day in May, and we require students and teachers to go all the way through Friday. And again, those were changes that we had to put in place so that we could comply with the athletic eligibility expectations, the certain number of days in each grading period that we had to have. We were running too short in the end without doing that.
We also took into consideration the human resource component, and so we looked at total number of teacher days. This doesn't change that. And then for staff that showed up Monday that otherwise would have showed up a week later if this calendar was in place, they would be provided 5 days that they can take throughout the year later on, so they don't lose that opportunity. So we've taken a look at that as well and factored that in. Yesterday, again, in conversation with Coach Haddock and Coach Alfaro, they'll communicate out to the coaches the change and what that allows for them in terms of practice, minutes, and then participation in other events that then wouldn't be entangled with school. So they're prepared for that if you support the recommendation as well. And then both Ms. Pardo and Ms. Straley would work with principals to ensure staff are communicated with. And then Ivan and Dr. Richburg would work to ensure that the public is communicated with regarding the new first day of school. So we spent time working through this and involving the voices that we would need to, again, if you support it, notify the public of the change. And again, I'll go back and say, we can open on the 9th. I mean, we can. The buildings will be ready. We just feel that with 2 years of COVID and everything else, I know it's just a week, but a week to either stay home with your family or come up a couple of days to get your room set up, a room you've never set up before, it's not a bad thing. It's a pretty good thing.
You
So-
do have the calendar breakdown document. If you are curious about the minutes, you can see how this calendar measures up in terms of minutes. The left-hand chart shows you each month and the total of minutes for the month. If you look all the way down at the bottom, the school year calendar that is being recommended has 76,790 minutes total. According to House Bill 2610, we must have 75,600. So we have a
We're good.
cushion of minutes there if needed. The other thing this chart will show you on the far right-hand column are the staff days by month. Teaching staff must have 187 staff days. So these are those PD days that count for them in addition to regular class days. And you can see that it equals out to 187 exactly.
All right. All right, so we're all ready for the tough questions. That's why we invited everybody who was part of the conversation yesterday to be here.
Board, any questions, comments?
I'll just say thank you for putting this in. As you know, I've had anxiety about it since we looked at this in February. August 9th start date and new schools. I was like, oh, this makes me nervous. But thank you for relooking. I know there's a lot that goes into it, obviously. So thank you for,
Good.
all of you for working on it.
I'd just like to say, it might sound cliche, but, and I've requested this in the past, and it's real elementary, but as a parent, they see this, they're gonna ask me, when's the first day of school? Is there a way we can put in there first day of school and
First
last
day.
day of school? I mean, real
List it out,
simple,
yes.
you know, so.
I think for sure,
So,
yes.
yeah, it's because some parents don't understand, first day of grading period or whatever the case. so.
Right, that terminology may not be
Exactly, so.
what they're used to using. Yes, we could definitely do
And as a
that.
board, we should know every day off, right? We know that.
Yeah, you should have it tattooed on your, back of your hand.
Exactly.
But, no, we can put a big star or something like that on there and just
To
line it
denote.
out, first day of school for kids.
Yeah,
So, and, but, and it was a good process. I mean, we threw different renditions out there and then, you know, we had a principal say, well, yeah, but I need an extra day with staff for this. And so it was a good dynamic conversation. It was good to get to this point.
I'll also say that yesterday I drove by north because I hadn't been area, and there were lots working, but a week later definitely made me feel better.
I'll also say thank you for the team to put this together and the effort it took to do that. I do have a couple questions. UIL eligibility days for those 6 weeks, what are those days?
so what it states on their website is you need to have 15 days in each reporting period. So that is up to progress report, and then from progress report to end of the grading period for the report card. So that was what caused us to have to move some of those yellow grading periods so that we could accommodate that. We had some conversations, and I reached out to a few people. We have 2 moments in there that we have a 14-day instead of a 15-day. But the individuals that I reached out to, they said that is definitely something that does occur from time to time. When you count your 15 days, you can count national holidays as one of
Okay.
the 15 days. So you'll notice in there a few of those national holidays, they are counting as one of the 15 days for students. The other thing it talks about very specifically is if you have more than 3 days that a district is out, even if a holiday occurs in that mix, you cannot count any of those days. So the Thanksgiving break, the 2 Christmas breaks, the spring break, those, you can't count any of those
Gotcha.
days. So that was part of the reason we had to go back in May and add the 25th and 26th, so that
Okay.
we could guarantee we had all the days.
Thanks for that, because the national holiday also cleared up one of my other questions
Okay,
as well.
yes,
Very
yes.
good. So, and also we've gone from 2 bad weather days to 1, and we've eliminated 1 in that process. We're good there, I mean, as far as eliminating one of those.
So what we did is we went back and we looked at House Bill 2610, TEA put a document out. And on this document, their exact wording, and I'm just gonna read it to you so that we can all be in the same space. It says, what should the district's calendar include? The TEA encourages districts and charter schools to include additional minutes to count for bad weather and/or missed school days related to health and safety concerns in their adopted calendar. So it says encouraged, it doesn't say
Sure.
mandated, and it also doesn't say how many minutes. It just says to include extra minutes. So we do have those extra minutes on January 16th. And we also, like I mentioned a while ago, because we're over the total number of minutes as well, we have a cushion in our total minutes, a little over 1,000 additional minutes that we also have to play with. A little further down in that document, it does discuss if a school district needed additional minutes due to, catastrophic events, weather events, COVID moments, can a district go back and add additional days or additional minutes to ensure that we comply with the total minute requirement, and it says yes. At any time, a school can go back and do that. So if we had a blizzard come through, we would definitely want to come back and make sure this one weather day and those minutes would cover it. And if not, we can go back and we can recommend a new change in the calendar to add a day.
And what the extra minutes allow us to do, because early release days or late start days don't count against you if we delay an hour. And in most cases, whenever we have cold weather around here, the roads are iced, and then by 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, you can pass through most of them. So we've done late starts as opposed to just canceling school altogether. And on the days, of course, we cancel school altogether, the ice melts all by 9:30, and then it's all sunny and beautiful, and you read about it on Facebook. So the extra minutes allow us the flexibility to do late starts. So that's the benefit of those. Not that we would ever want to, but if we did end up with a weather event prior to Thanksgiving, we could go to a 3-day Thanksgiving and catch a day or two there if we had to. So we have flexibility there. Not that we'd want to do that with spring break, but in most cases, over the last few years, when Snowmageddon occurred, the state gave us the ability to apply for a waiver for those days. So if it's a big statewide issue, in most cases, they'll allow a mechanism for us to recoup that and not have to make it up, and it puts everybody in the same boat. So we feel that, I mean, nothing's perfect, but this is really good work to get us to where we are. I mean, it's really good work.
Thank you. Appreciate the detail on that. I know that we'll probably have questions about this movement, right? And I think that's going to help,
Yes.
Explain a little bit in more detail of what that means. And I know I feel like I'm pretty comfortable in asking those questions, or,
Yes.
getting those answers out to the public and going from there. Appreciate the detail on that. Thank
Yes.
you very much.
You're welcome.
In moving back a week, when can teachers start moving in? Because I know on this it says the 3rd, 4th, and 5th is new stuff in service. I take that more as in service they're going to be working with, getting ready for the first day of school.
Right,
But
right.
classrooms, every teacher's going to be new teachers moving into the classroom.
That's exactly right.
And
K-8.
it takes a family to go in and get these classrooms fixed. When are they going to start doing that?
We anticipate that we would allow staff in definitely by August 1. If they wanted to go in August 1, we might even be in a position where we could allow staff to go in July 25th. It's safe to say August 1, but there is a potential for the 25th. Now, of course, some of our buildings that are, the intermediate, or south at Hillcrest, we're able to allow them in a lot earlier. We still have some construction in the gym area and the band hall at the junior high, but the classrooms are completed. We just have cleanup. So we just need the cleanup to occur. The furniture's been delivered, it just needs to be set up. So the ones where the first is probably the most practical date would be Central and North, just because if you look at the exterior elevation of North and Central, you'll see a difference. But if you look at the interior, they look very similar. The gyms are painted, they're putting the floors in, the cafeterias are painted, entryways being set up, so they're very much in the same place on the inside. So I guess it's safe to say the first. So it's a good question, but if we can do it earlier than that, we definitely will. But we do anticipate the first is easy day for them to get in. And of course, then they have that whole week, and then that would be an additional week, whereas on the existing calendar, they wouldn't have that. That would be work.
Now, are their not furniture, but their personal, I don't even want to say personal belongings, are their belongings from their previous classroom that's already in their classroom for them to just to go unpack, or
I'll let David
is all
speak
that
to
still going to
that.
have to be hunted down and say, this is what I need in my classroom for them to start on that first?
Currently, most of the instructional materials, it's
boxes and teaching instructional material over to Central. So once we get the green light, we will then begin moving items of instruction over to North. Currently, we're not moving furniture until we get the green light on that. So right now, it's just like the boxes of the instructional material.
Where are we with the intermediate and junior high with the teachers' personal items?
There's still some items stored here at Edgemere as well that need to go back out. And like I say, we still have our temporary summer crew that's getting things moved into Central as we speak.
Is that going to be enough time for teachers? I'm not thinking of the instructional, because I know y'all have
Yeah.
that down. But for them to have the classroom set up, because that's a lot of stuff those teachers have to.
The additional week at the beginning of August will be a time that they could go in, but we also worked into our, we aren't doing district professional development like we have in years past. We're turning those days over to campuses to cover the items they need and then to give teachers time on campuses to get into the classrooms. That's why convocational, we're going to have the board president, teachers of the year, and we don't have a convocation speaker. We're going to broadcast that out from here. Campuses will each have a location where they view it, and then when they're done, they have the opportunity to get moving. We'll provide breakfast on each of those campuses, however. So we really, this year, bent towards, there's no bringing all the reading teachers together, or all the math teachers, or all the, algebra teachers. I mean, we're giving them the time to get into their classrooms and buildings this year, more than we have in the years past.
That summer crew that's moving, are they moving into Miss Smith's room directly, or is there a central spot and then Miss Smith has to go?
No, right now, they just designated a wing that we are able to take boxes over. So no, it's not like designated classrooms just yet.
But there will be some help with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other questions for me? Okay, thank you.
Again, we'd like to thank the team for this, I know it was probably a heartache, but we got it over and done with, but we still got some room for, if we need to make some changes, right, my understanding, so. Great job on that, and it takes a lot, I know, for scheduling, so. But board, any more questions or comments on this? Dr. Sanchez, anything else?
No, sir, I appreciate, as always, board members for reaching out to me and expressing what y'all's thoughts and ideas were on this. And as always, we want to be responsive to what you hear, because if you're hearing it, then that's something that we need to pursue. And so again, I appreciate y'all reaching out and giving us the opportunity to present an option. And with the team we have, they work together well and always find a way. So again, I just want to appreciate all the work that they put in. And so with that, I'd like to recommend consideration and approval of the change you see in version 1.1A to the 22-23 instructional calendar.
Board, I hear a motion at this time.
I so move.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we got a motion by Ms. Rivera and a second by Ms. Bass. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. 6-0. That failed to mention that Ms. Ray will not be here today, and it's not here, so, but 6-0 vote, thank you. Again, team, for an amazing job on that. So.
We'll begin our communication process immediately, and with that, that concludes the business of the district.
Thank you much.
We still all have to go back to work, though.
I guess I missed where Dr. Sanchez has to cook steaks for all the staff. What day on that calendar did we see that?
We'll do that. We have that, we do something like that at the beginning of the year. So,
So he said steaks maybe?
yeah.
Maybe hamburgers?
I make all the arrangements. I can actually do it, but, I defer to the experts.